Great. Thank you. Thank you for joining us today. We are going to kick off our session. Before we go into our discussion today, our webinar on overcoming tech debt, I just want to make sure that we go over our safe harbor statement. While neither of the two companies working today, URT or Unleash You, are public, due to the fact that either or two of them could possibly work with others in the future that are public, we have the following safe harbor statement. The following presentation is intended to outline our general partnering direction. It's intended for informational purposes only and may not be incorporated into any contract. It's not a commitment to deliver any material, product, or services, and any negotiations for current or future services should be handled on a direct service and a session between the client and the partners themselves. The development, release, and/or timing of functionality described for either URT or Unleash You remains at the sole discretion of each entity. So without any further ado, I'd like to hand over the microphone to our wonderful partner, Mitchell Wright. So Mitchell, the microphone's yours. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, appreciate that, Kevin. Hi, everyone. Really appreciate you taking the time to join today. And I'm very excited to talk to you about overcoming tech debt and how we can help out with that. Before diving in, my name is Mitchell Wright, and I'm a business development manager here at URT. We are a full stack ITAD provider and are able to help you recover value from your IT assets. And with how quickly technology is advancing these days, it really is crucial to find ways to continue to advance that technology, but limit the constraint that you're seeing on your budget. So therefore, it's very important for you to cut costs and recover value where you can. Now, for those of you who don't know, an ITAD company is essentially when you decommission your assets, we are able to help give you some money back in your pocket for those devices that can then be put towards other initiatives that you're currently working on, whether that is in the IT space or somewhere else within the organization. And I'll touch on how we're able to do that in a few minutes. But first, just wanted to start off with who URT is as an organization. So we were founded back in 2003. So we've been in business for a little over 20 years now, and we're headquartered in Janesville, Wisconsin. By 2009, we had locations strategically placed in Oregon, Dallas, and New Hampshire, as well as that headquarters, which really allows us to serve organizations all across the country, whether that is a single location or a national organization. And here at URT, our mission really is to do things the right way. So nowadays, data is one of the most important assets to any organization. And that's why we ensure that all data is handled securely, being wiped using industry standard and transparent practices. So the underlying mission to us is to ensure that both our customers and the environment are benefiting from our solutions. Now, I'm not going to take too long diving into our certifications here, but they are something that is extremely important in the recycling world, so I did want to touch on it. We were actually the first glass processor to become eSteward certified back in 2011, and all of our facilities became double certified with eStewards and R2v3 in 2022. Essentially, what all of these certifications are saying is that we are following safe, ethical, and environmentally responsible practices for electronics recycling and refurbishment. There we go. And now I really want to dive into why IT asset dispositioning and e-waste recycling is important. And there really are quite a few reasons. So in today's world, organizations are seeing quite a few challenges when it comes to their IT equipment. And one of the most obvious, especially with the AI boom happening, is the speed at which technology is advancing. Now, this leads to rapidly replacing your IT assets at a faster rate than, companies have been over the years. Maybe, that's every 5 years now, as opposed to every 7, or every 3 as opposed to every 5. And this creates a lot of e-waste and has a huge impact on your bottom line, ultimately leading to environmental hazards as more and more technology needs to find somewhere to go. And companies have much tighter budgets nowadays because they're spending so much more money on technology. So you have to find a way to be able to afford those replacements that before were pretty easy to afford for you. Additionally, data security is more important than ever. Protecting your data has become a day-to-day task for pretty much every IT professional out there. So it's very important to ensure that your data is handled properly. And if it isn't, your organization could see both major legal and financial impacts. And ultimately, for any IT professional, that could cost you your job. So this is a critical piece in why this is a very important thing to have. And finally, as technology is becoming more complex, the environmental regulations that need to be followed are following suit. So if it comes out that your organization isn't following these regulations, you risk, your brand's reputation, and that ultimately is impacting the company's profitability as a whole. Now, as you see, all of these challenges have financial impacts tied into them. So in a world where keeping up with the industry standard is becoming more expensive, it's critical that you're maximizing every dollar you have and not spending it trying to fix some of these problems. Now, I did want to touch on how URT is able to help, put that money back in your pocket. The main solutions I wanted to touch on here today are the first two, but I will talk a little bit about the others as well. So first is our asset management solution. Essentially, within this solution, we will buy back your decommissioned assets, and if there is still value in them, we'll resell them and give you the lion's share. If there isn't any value there, we'll ensure that it is being properly recycled. And since all of our recycling is done in-house, we're still able to give you a rebate back on a lot of that equipment. So whether or not there is value, you will very likely see money coming back your way, as opposed to other ITADs where you would be charged for, the recycling solutions. I do think it's critical for me to note in this that all data that is on these drives or cell phones, data-bearing devices that you have will be destroyed. So you don't have to worry about, data getting out into the world. We handle that fully. And there are a few other offerings that fall into this solution, including data wiping for redeployment within your own organization. Whether that happens at a URT facility or we come out to yours, or us coming out to your site to decommission your assets. Now, the second solution I wanted to touch on here is our electronics recycling. I already talked a little bit about it, but this is where URT really got our start. So we're actually able to take your old electronics, fully shred them down, and basically turn them into dust. And we are actually one of the few remaining providers out there that is still able to take CRTs. So if you have any, old monitors or old TVs or anything like that, we're able to take those off your hands. And that's a huge stress off a lot of organizations because there are a ton of regulations around that right now. And finally, the other pieces I did want to touch on, we really are able to recycle a lot of other more complex items as well, such as plastics, solar panels, lamps, and batteries. So we do offer that complete portfolio. So anything that you need in the ITAD or e-waste world, we're here to partner with you. And at the end of the day, it really is critical to ensure that you're getting all the value out of your IT equipment and that you're following all environmental standards in place, both from a brand perspective and to your bottom line. And we've partnered with Unleash You to help their customers free themselves from the constraints of old tech debt and drive their next steps to IT evolution. So before I pass it over to Kevin, I did want to ask Brianna, did any questions come in here that I can help answer?
There are a couple. First question is, what sets URT apart from the other ITADs that are out there?
Yeah, that is, a great question. There are plenty of other ITADs out there, but one of the biggest things is that URT is a nationwide fully stacked ITAD provider. So we do have the location strategically placed in 4 different states. So we're able to help customers across the country where a lot of ITADs are limited to, a couple states that are around their facility. And additionally, we do offer both the end of life and ITAD services. So even if there isn't value in the equipment that we get, instead of sourcing that out to another vendor to handle for them, we do that in-house, and that allows us to provide money back to the customer as opposed to that being a charge. So no matter what, there's a very high likelihood that you will see money back in your pocket.
Great. And then last question is, how can customers be sure that their data bearing equipment is handled securely?
Yeah, that's a huge one nowadays. I mean, data is one of the top assets to any organization. So I'd be shocked if no one asked that question. But URT offers comprehensive on-site and off-site data destruction solutions. And all of our services are backed by R2V3, eStewards, and NAID AAA certifications across all of our facilities. And we offer 3 different methods of data destruction. The first method is sanitization. So essentially, this is the secure erasure of SSDs, flash drives, mobile devices, and any other data-bearing devices that you have. And this can be done either at a customer site or at a secure URT facility. Second, we offer degaussing, which essentially disrupts the magnetic field of the device, which renders it inoperable. So it can't be used ever again, and no one can pull data off of it. And then finally, and the most comprehensive of them, is shredding, where we are literally taking the devices and drives and physically destroying them, shredding them down, and turning them into, small little pieces that cannot be put back together, and then data can't be taken off of them. And that comes complete with a customizable certificate of destruction. So you can go back to, your higher ups, your board, whoever requires it, and show them that it has been destroyed and that you have all the evidence of that. Anything else?
And those are the only questions I've got for you.
Awesome. Well, then I really appreciate everyone's time here. I can go ahead and pass the mic back over to Kevin from Unleash You.
Excellent. Well, thank you, Mitchell, and thank you, Bree. I appreciate the discussion, and I was overwhelmed actually with the breadth of services that URT provides when I first started working with Mitchell and others on his team. One of the key reasons that we wanted to partner up with them as a partner in this space was their breadth, and then the ability that they could not just be a provider that deals with a particular vendor or a particular solution. They had the wide breadth. And I was even blown away that you guys do solar panels and fluorescent lights and everything across the wide spectrum of where a customer has something physical that is going to slow them down, that now they are putting in the storage closet, putting in yet the warehouse, that is now what I would call tech debt in whatever phase they have. So we were really excited to be able to partner with you guys at URT. So I appreciate the discussion, Mitchell. So let me give you a little bit more about who Unleash You is. And then we'll jump into some other sides of the equation here. So where Mitchell talked about the physical element, we're going to talk a little bit more about the virtual discussion and where tech debt is slowing down our customers on the virtual side as well, and how we can help you. So a little bit more about who Unleash You is. We like to call ourselves a dynamic managed solutions partner. And there's a lot of MSPs in the marketplace. A lot of them call themselves managed solutions providers. And where we like to call ourselves a partner is then we get into the environment with our customers and make sure that we're empowering them as opposed to just pushing the latest and greatest vendor solution. We are based in Kansas City, right in the middle of the country. We have customers that have a wide range of solutions that they are focusing on. We deal with most of our customers are in the big 7 verticals. So think utilities, manufacturing, finance, banking, healthcare, travel, leisure, sports, retail, a wide range of customers that we've done solutions with, spanning from coast to coast, even across all of North America. And the thing that really differentiates us in this MSP space that is very crowded and busy is the how we do things. And we believe that knowledge is power, and we share both. One of the things that is different in this industry is how we approach our customers, and we like to partner with them with something we call empowerment services, something a little bit different than what you might have been familiar with, especially so in the MSP space. What we call our empowerment services puts a co-pilot into your environment, into the cockpit with you. And by doing that, we leverage the contextual knowledge that you have and your team has about your operations, and that enables you to learn about the technology, both what you have today and then most likely what you're going to do with a tech refresh, and how that's going to possibly impact your operations, hopefully to the positive. But we make sure that we record the simulations, we provide a lab, we allow you to test things out before they're live in operational state, and then ultimately empower your team to optimize that in their functional capacity so that it empowers them to use it to the fullest capacity versus creating yet another element of tech debt where something's half deployed or something's half learned and they never fully get the true benefit out of it. So we feel as though our ability to do empowerment services differentiates us in the marketplace, and it gets the operational point to the customer where they can actually truly take advantage of technology. So a little bit more about how to identify tech debt, because we have a lot of customers out there who are saying, I'm in the phase of maybe 18 months of my project, and I'm looking at the next phase of maybe 24 months or 36 months refresh. And I'm not sure if I'm going to either get the budget approval or that I've gotten even the best out of what I thought I was going to get on the last one, so that I can prove out that the financial metrics worked. So there are 3 big things that I'd like to call out that we've seen ripple through the networking space that has increased the tech debt that you need to be aware of, that ultimately, hopefully, you can take advantage of either correcting or just being aware of and cognizant of that you might have today that could be either exacerbating your tech debt or just be in the portfolio of what you have. So cloud everything is the first thing that we saw a lot of customers really expanding into their tech debt, as far as they did everything or they're half baked into the cloud. They have multiple instances of cloud environments, and now that could be optimized. That's a lot of tech debt is located in the cloud everything space. The SaaS and mobility solutions are very problematic in the sense that there's a lot of licenses and a lot of devices. So if you're not careful, you can get a lot of devices. Some of them sit in people's desks that are not being used. They're not even decommissioned. They're still paying a monthly charge for them, and or the licenses that are associated with SaaS sometimes can really get out of control. Either they expand the license cost or the scope of that license, and or the evergreen. And if you're not careful, you come up to an expiration and it automatically trips into a 12, 24, or 36-month renewal without you knowing. So the third one is this hybrid contractor space of the workforce. So again, a lot of assets are either sitting in remote locations or in the headquarter locations, and it's duplicative to what you might need. So therefore, again, you're exacerbating, you're only increasing the amount of tech debt you have that is out there in your environment. So there are some areas that you can use to optimize where and how to get away from some of this tech debt in this space that where we can assess and help you. We strongly suggest you catalog and or audit your firm's applications. That's usually a great starting point to assess where and what are you using, and then are you using it to its fullest extent. There might be opportunities to quickly eliminate applications or to optimize them. What are you doing? Why did you initially start that application? And then ultimately, maybe that's a reason for how you renew it, or you don't, and you maybe flip to a new discussion or new solution. Clean up both what and how people and devices connect. There's a lot of different elements and ways that people communicate virtually, physically. How they do it can be captured and then ultimately shared as a way of inventory of how you're doing things. And then what are you paying for to make those communication paths more efficient? And then third, drive tighter linkage. HR and IT is a wonderful example. There's a number of people who have left the market, left your payroll, or who have been added to your payroll in recent times. That's going to drive either licenses or devices. So if you're not tightly connected to HR, you're probably going to have a challenge as to knowing both what needs to be on the network and or being paid for, or what's still on the network and shouldn't be on the network anymore, and is tech debt that you can eliminate. So converting some of these things into some of the next projects, like Mitchell was talking about, taking old hardware, taking old screens, taking even old fluorescent light bulbs, getting them out of the storage closet, getting them out of the desks, and turning them into budget enabled resources that you can use for your next tech refresh is where we'd like to help you. So there's some great surveys that have been done with our friends over at GTIA that talked about where they think the revenue is going to come from different IT projects. We like to correlate these projects and where you think the revenue is going to come to where you think you're going to have to spend on the next tech refresh. So is your network ready? Well, you might want to look at how is AI going to possibly affect your network. That might be something, if you're going to do an AI project and you think you're going to get some revenue out of it this year, well, is your network ready for that? Do you have a plan to get your cloud optimized? If you don't, that's something you want to put down, even if it's on the back of a napkin. If it's something that's put down on paper, it's extensible, and then you can work with partners as well as people inside your own team, your company, to then optimize it. Is your network component both modular and scalable? There's a lot of areas in the cybersecurity space in particular that are sometimes forklift changes, either policy changes or something that could really ripple through how you do things. Make sure your things are modular and scalable so you're not breaking legs by the time you actually go and implement changes. And then build cross-functional relationships to other organizations. I mentioned HR a moment ago, but it's not the only organization. You need to make sure you have IT interconnectedness. So digital marketing is a great example. It's unfortunate that there's so many people who are spending money on ads, on platforms, multiple platforms, boosting different ads. That is still a part of tech debt if you're not ensuring that you're getting the ROI from that marketing expense. So again, there's a lot of revenue you can drive from marketing initiatives. Make sure it ties back to the functional IT spend that you were looking to get out of that spend and get the tech debt limited or at least minimized. So do you need a co-pilot? How do you get a co-pilot? What's different with a co-pilot? Let me expand upon that empowerment services I talked about earlier. As Mitchell was talking about how URT is different in the industry and how they can help you with the physical, we can help you with the virtual in the sense that a lot of customers are overwhelmed with dealing with vendors, multiple partners who implement those vendor solutions. What we like to do that's different when co-piloting is make sure that before we start a project, before we even think about starting a project, is we get to alignment with you to make sure that what is it that you're trying to get out of the solution, whether that's optimizing something you already have, harmonizing it with something new, or putting something into your solution that you don't have today. Get together with you, partner on that, and get the alignment done before we even start. Then when we build it with you, we get you into a lab, we simulate with you what you're going to do with this solution. So you can actually have you and your team fully capable and competent with the solution prior to it going into operational state. Then we put it into operational state, we refine whatever might need to be done with you, give you all the documentation so that you own that documentation about the solution. And then before we leave, we assess whether or not that met your expectations and did we have the alignment that we started out with. We believe that doing it in this process, it builds a tighter alignment with you and then a better recognition of what you're going to get on your ROI. So you have minimized tech debt at the end of the project and you have a better utilization of your technology. So with AI, and that's going to be probably the next big push with the next tech refresh, it's critical we talk a little bit about what we're seeing out there in the marketplace for how AI is going to ripple through. And what we don't want you to do is to take on an AI project and exacerbate your tech debt and just get a new way. And this is the problem with tech refreshes. They always come in, they're exciting, but then you get half-baked and you get more tech debt on top of already tech debt you had. So one of the things that GTIA was critical about is talking about how AI is going to be good for some and not others in different parts of the industry and different parts of where your operations are. We're seeing a lot of focus on the factors that AI has positive impacts. Is if you have a customer service intensive business, AI is probably going to be a better fit as providing you an earlier ROI. Manually intensive job functions are not seeing the pop for AI just yet. Maybe next phase, maybe in the next iteration. But right now, if you're in a customer service / sales facing role, we're seeing that AI has a better ROI and therefore minimizing tech debt. Quality of current procedures. If you have no procedure or policies that are not mature enough or don't have the ability to be improved, you might want to hold off or do your phases in a different way of AI rollout. AI is an accelerant. So therefore, if you have bad processes, it will accelerate bad problems. So make sure that you audit those and refine and then ultimately get good documentation and SOPs before you put the AI accelerant on top of it. And then adoption plans, make them modular, make sure that you have cross department buy-in before you go and do rollouts. It can cripple an organization when one part of the organization is using AI and another's not, and it creates friction between the two different departments. Tech hiring. We just saw something come out this week. This is actually on the screen here is from the first quarter, but just recently you saw Amazon highlight in their publicly facing statements how they think AI is going to impact their workforce and how much they're going to hire or how many people they're going to keep on their workforce. So we're seeing AI already percolate through. Do they need to have more AI enabled engineers? Do they need to have certain folks on their staff who know how to use AI? Or does AI ripple through how many people they need on the staff in other parts of their business? So warning signs for AI. Costs can be volatile. If you're not careful, the cost variables like the number of users, the price per token, or the number of licenses needed can quickly scale past the budget limits. And if you're not careful, you could easily have your cost estimates go up. Sometimes we've seen even higher than 500% what they built into the plan. So it can really create some tech debt really quickly. So if you're not careful, it can blow out your budget for not just this year, but next year, if you're not careful about how to run these. So again, cost is one of the greatest threats to AI, and it's Gen AI in particular, and creating tech debt. So it's critical that you have some of these testing elements, that your cost profiles align with your phased adoption plan. And if you do get into a situation where it's running through your budget like wildfire, you have a stopgap on these different adoption plans so you can slow down the cost volatility elements. And then leveraging AI. So as we talked about HR a moment ago, it's ironic, but as we've seen customers deploy AI successfully in certain patches of their business, the Gen AI assistants, the bots of sorts, those robot friends have become some of the best coworkers of the people who are using them. They actually like to engage with them. They actually make their work more productive. They actually find it more readily available to find information and get their job done in a way that's empowering. So again, we want to make sure that when you do these solutions and do these process improvements, that it becomes at the end of the day empowering for your workforce to be more productive. And be careful as you do AI, it can create its own tech debt by having it be a shadow AI. So again, a lot of devices, a lot of remote work that's being done today, BYOD devices, people are using their own licenses, and that you have to be careful about. Again, you could do a quick survey, figure out how people are using their AI. Is it using it on a personal device? Is it using it as a corporate device? And then ultimately, what and how are they using it? You got to make sure that you're not creating a brand identity issue or a security issue, that they're using sensitive and proprietary information on these platforms, because then you have another risk that you have to mitigate. So build some alpha beta tests, assess how you're doing it, and link the AI adoption to an actual process that you can do to scale it. So we're here to help. We've had customers come to us where they need help in building a plan and then maybe implementing that plan as well. So we can help you get through that, get into the cockpit with you, understand your operational state, and then help you operationalize it and optimize it. So let me pause at this moment. Bree, have any questions come over on the chat?
Yeah, I have a couple for you. So going back to your reference to identifying the tech debt, for companies who are maybe struggling to identify where that tech debt resides, do you have any suggestions on how they might be able to catalog where they have tech debt?
Yeah, it's probably one of the biggest challenges we've seen. Like when Mitchell was talking about with different areas on the hardware side, customers have a harder time sometimes getting a handle around the virtual elements of where and how are they spending money, and then what part of that spend is crippling their budgets versus maybe providing an exponential type of ROI. And one of the quickest ways you can catalog your expenses is by doing some quick surveys. So what are your employees using? And then ultimately, how are they using it in a way that makes their job better? That's one of the quickest ways to figure out the low-hanging fruit. So if they are using a SaaS platform that you're paying for, and they say it's one of the best things they have, great. You've gotten the return on your investment there. Maybe you expand or you look at when that license is going to come due and make sure that that's critical in your budget. Whereas if they don't reference several of the SaaS things that you're paying for, maybe that's an opportunity to re-explore. Well, maybe you don't need to expand that SaaS license, or you make sure that you understand when that SaaS license is going to expire so it doesn't evergreen for a 12, 24, or 36-month lease on that type of license, because that's only going to exacerbate the tech that you have and no one's using it. So surveys are a really quick way. You can work with HR, you can work with some of the different organizations that you have inside your operations to just quickly craft a survey, get some feedback, and then now you can start cataloging where you have your spend and where the benefits are coming from that spend. Any other questions?
Yeah, one on co-piloting. So, is it a type of service that is typically more expensive than the traditional professional services offered in the marketplace, or is it on the same plane?
Sure, good question. Because a lot of customers have, when they've come back, they said, "Hey, I've already signed up for Microsoft Copilot. Does that mean I already get this?" And it's actually no. But also, when you do sign up for things like Microsoft Copilot, that could also be something where people associate, I have to spend more to get just what I was doing already, or I'm not sure if I see the benefit of it. Co-piloting in our terms is really just a term to say that we're going to get into the cockpit with you on our empowerment services, and we're going to help you understand your own environment. It's actually more cost effective on the customers that we've talked to in giving them more immersive experiences, and then actually being able to show them their operations that they use, and actually being able to consume the IT consulting in a way that's not kind of pay per the court, and then actually I get what I purchased in a quantity. You now have an immersive experience with this. So there's an inextricable tying into, you have some more benefit from the price that you're going to pay for the consulting. So it's critical that you see the benefit of saying, I'm going to get more out of this because I'm actually going to work with the actual consultant versus the consultant's going to do all the work for me and I'm going to outsource it. So we've seen a number of customers come back and say, wow, it's the same price as what I was paying for the previous consultant, but I'm getting 10 times more. So I think that's a good example of the cost benefit analysis that you have to assess.
Awesome. And that is it for questions for you.
All right, wonderful. Well, Mitchell, I appreciate the time. It's been interesting, as we go through and we talk about both the hardware side and the virtual side, and how tech debt is out there in the marketplace. I can see where a lot of customers hopefully can see the benefit of combining the two. Like, how do I do the next tech refresh? And that's going to require me to get some more hardware, more servers, more screens. But also I got to get rid of the old stuff. And when I do that, I got to get all the licenses that are going to work on these servers that people are going to use these screens for. So I really appreciate the collaboration we had today, and I'll open it up to you if you had any last parting comments before we wrap up today.
No, I really appreciate the time, Kevin. And like you were saying, it's very important that customers are able to identify, where they're able to get that value and money back to put forward for their next tech refresh. So I think, by us partnering together, it gives organizations a great head start on, finding those areas.
Great. Excellent. Well, again, I appreciate the partnering with URT, and I wanted to thank everyone for attending today. Should you be consuming this on a grab and go type of consumption, there are QR codes here. Should you have any questions after watching this on your own, you can reach out to URT or on Unleash You via the QRs, or you can reach out to us on LinkedIn. We'd be happy to engage with you, and we're looking forward to carrying on this discussion in the marketplace. So Mitchell and Bree, appreciate your time today, and have a great rest of the day and a great rest of the week. Thank you.